The following matchup is being played with HistoryMaker Baseball Express, a fast-playing baseball simulation board game, a property of Play Games LLC, copyright 2022, all rights reserved. Welcome to a very special Canada Day episode of the HistoryMaker Baseball Express Hour. In today's episode, we are going to venture north of the border and feature the 1993 World Series that featured the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies. Who will come on top of this matchup? Well, I guess you're going to have to tune in and find out for yourself here because game one will be coming up in just a matter of moments. But before we get to first pitch, let's take a look at our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's very special Canada Day episode of the HistoryMaker Baseball Express Hour. We would like to take time to say thank you to our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's episode of the HistoryMaker Baseball Express Hour. This episode, first of all, is being brought to you by your favorite Bitty Beer products. And again, if you choose to drink Bitty Beer, please remember to drink responsibly. Hey, it's a blend of hops, rice, and barley that gives Bitty Beer its taste. But we know better. It's our brewing process that gives our beer that one-of-a-kind flavor that no premium beer can match. Our vats have never been cleaned. There's an itty-bitty bit of history in every can. Bitty Beer, the beer for folks who can't afford better. And by Doc Cola, the official cola drink of the Play Games community. Doc Cola uses the finest ingredients to bring you that sugary blast of caffeine you've come to know and love. Twice the sugar and 3 times the caffeine of any other major. Doc Cola is sure to keep fired up from dawn till dusk. Take the Doc Cola challenge. See why our customers agree you'll never be able to wean yourself from a refreshing Doc Cola. And by Pizza Kingdom, the official pizza joint of the Play Games community. Pizza Kingdom, our signature New York style pizza, starts with crust. Then we layer on our homemade pizza sauce, then load your pizza up with mounds of cheese. When it comes out of the oven, piping hot, golden brown, and ready for you to enjoy. Then we give the majestic culinary work of art to Mikey, our 16-year-old delivery driver who was responsible as a tree. Pizza Kingdom, it's sheer perfection. Left the store. And by Suncoast Capital Banks. At Suncoast Capital, we live by one simple rule of investing. When our clients win, we win. When our clients lose, we win. Suncoast Capital, you know we're going to get all of your money anyway. And by Rubicon Wireless. Why pay $200 a month for wireless service when you get 4 lines for just $25 a month? With our tin can plan, you can access our wireless network that covers at 25% of coast to coast between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. with unlimited text and messaging those hours, of course. So why overpay for service you cannot live out? Rubicon Wireless. And a very fine Canada Day to all of our viewers in north of the border uh, in the country of Canada. So again, it's Canada Day for our fine viewers in Canada. So make nice with them, please. But with that being said, we have a very special Canada Day episode of World Series Rewind as we are featuring the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies as we revisit their classic bout, 7-game bout from the 1993 World Series. Your pitching matchup for game one will be as follows. Juan Guzman will be on the hill for the Blue Jays, and on the hill for the Phillies will be Curt Schilling. Guzman has flash, while Schilling does have flash and control printed out on his card. And with that being said, nice touch for the Blue Jays logo. The Blue Jays side of the scoreboard, as it is red, as of course Canada Day, the fine folks in Canada wear red on Canada Day. With that being said, we play ball here from the Sky Dome in Toronto for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll kick things off with a 1-2-2. Struggler on Guzman. He's not. Champ on Lenny Dykstra. He's not a champ. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 1 blank. That will do it for the top half of the first for the Phils. It's Phillies nothing, and the Blue Jays are coming back in their half of the first inning. Two, three, three. 2-3-3. Here we are. Ace pitcher on Schilling. No. Champ on Devin White. He's not a champ. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 3 dot. And that will seal up the deal for this first inning here at the Sky Dome in Toronto with your score of Phillies nothing and the Blue Jays nothing. 1-3-6. Ace on Guzman. No. Hero on Mariano Duncan. He is a semi-hero. The decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Duncan is a neutral runner, so therefore, the bases are loaded full of Phillies for John Kruk. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 34. Slugger hits double. Kruk is a semi-slugger. The decider die says he's not. Therefore, it'll be a single. That could have possibly been. It's still going to either way score 2 runs for the Phils as the runner on third scores and the runner on second will score. As the runner on first goes to third and Kruk will go to first and nothing more. As the Phillies lead game one of this episode of World Series Rewind over the Toronto Blue Jays by the score of 2-0. 1-2-3. Workman or struggler on Curt Schilling. He's not. Champ on Roberto Alomar. He's not. That'll be a no runs result of a 2 blank, and that will seal up the deal. For the first 2 innings here at the Sky Dome in Toronto, the Philadelphia Phillies lead the Blue Jays 2-0. 3-5-5. 3-5-5. Here we are. Star on Guzman. He's not. Champ on Dave Holland. He's not a champ. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 5 dot, and that will seal up the deal for the first 2.5 innings of this one here at the Sky Dome in Toronto with your score, Phillies 2 and the Blue Jays nothing. Paul Molitor will lead things off with a 2-3-3. Ace on Schilling. No. Champ on Molitor. He's a semi-champ. The decider die says he's not. That is going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. The black die is not a 6. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 3 dot. And that will do it for the first 3 innings here at the Sky Dome in Toronto on this very special Canada Day episode of World Series Rewind with your score, Phillies 2, Blue Jays nothing. One, 5-6. Ace on Guzman. No. You 2, 6. Here we are. Sat sack on Darren Dalton. He's not a sat sack. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Guzman has flash. That 5 will be reduced to a 4, putting runners at the corners for Jim Eisenreich. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 12. Slugger hits home run. Unfortunately, Jim Eisenreich is not a slugger, so therefore, it will be a single. A run does come home to score. And that is probably going to be the end of the day for Juan Guzman here in this ball game, as we now have a score of Philadelphia Phillies 3 and the Toronto Blue Jays nothing. 1-3-4. Got to get the bats going. Ace on Schilling. No. Champ on Carter. He's not a champ. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 1 blank. And that'll seal up the deal for the first 4 innings of this one. The Philadelphia Phillies will chase Juan Guzman from this ball game. Your score after 4 innings of play is Philadelphia Phillies 3 and the Toronto Blue Jays nothing. And we do see a new pitcher trotting in for the bullpen for the Jays. We'll find out who that is after we take this really quick timeout. And we're back here at the Sky Dome in Toronto with the new pitcher on the hill for the Blue Jays. Mark Eichhorn will be the new pitcher for the Blue Jays, as he has star, semi-flash, and semi-control. For this at-bat against Milt Thompson, Eichhorn will have the full extent use of the semi-ace quality. With that being said, we resume action here in the top half of the 5th with your score, Phillies 3, Blue Jays nothing, here at the Sky Dome in Toronto for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 1-1-5. Struggler on Eichhorn. He's not. Utility on Milt Thompson. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Eichhorn has semi-flash, and the decider die says he does not have it. So therefore, that is going to be placing the runner on at first base for Mickey Morandini off of the men on base chart. 46. Same reliever gets the strikeout. And again, when we say same, it's lefty versus lefty, righty versus righty. Since we don't have the same handiness, it'll be a contact result, and it will be rolling of the red die here. 5, champ on Morandini. He's not a champ, so therefore it'll be a pop-out to end the top half of the 5th. The Phillies get a runner on, and they will keep him on base. They'll leave a little duckling on the pond with your score heading to the bottom half of the 5th. Phillies 3 and the Toronto Blue Jays nothing. One, 2, 6. Struggler or Gilded on Kurt Schilling? No. Hero on John Olruth. He is a hero, so therefore that's going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. It's a start. John Olruth has stoic. That 6 will be reduced to a 5, putting runners on at second and third for Tony Fernandez off the men on base chart. 24. Goldfielder makes the out. Ricky Jordan. Guys, come on. Ricky Jordan is the designated hitter for this game, and we'll go by what it says. So therefore, Ricky Jordan is not a Goldfielder, so therefore, that is going to allow the Blue Jays to get on the board. It'll be runners at the corners for Ed Sprague to bat off the men on base chart. We have a 16. Good eye. Unfortunately, Sprague does not have a good eye, so therefore, that is going to be a strikeout. The Blue Jays do get on the board, though, but it's still anybody's game. It's Phillies 3, Blue Jays 1. Four, 5, 6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Eichhorn is the bullpen arm, so he is considered fresh for the remainder of the game for the Toronto Blue Jays. Champ on Dykstra. He's not a champ, so therefore it'll be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. The black die is not a 6, so therefore it'll be a no runs result of 6. Let's see here. Workman, no. Champ, no. Yes, decider die was not used. So we'll use this decider die roll for flash. So it's a 6 dot for flash and a blank for control. And that is going to seal up the deal for the first 5.5 innings of this one. It's still Phillies 3, Blue Jays 1 as we head to the bottom half of the 6th inning. 1-5-6. Ace pitcher on Schilling. So far he's pitching like one, but unfortunately he does not have it. 1-5-6. Here we are. Sat sack on Borders. He's not a sat sack, so therefore that is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Curt Schilling does have flash, so from 6 to a 5. Runners on second and third for Turner Ward. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 33. Scrapper hits single. Turner Ward is not a scrapper. The game is tied. Unbelievable. Turner Ward just cashed in a bases clearing triple to tie the game at 3-all. Oh my goodness. We go to the top of the order for Devon White as he will bat off the men on base chart. 23. Eager grounds out. White is not eager, so therefore bases are loaded. Runners at the corners for Roberto Alomar off the men on base chart. And it seems the Phillies manager is sticking with Curt Schilling. He wants to see if he can get Alomar out of this, to get this team back in the dugout. 55. Batting team to Sonnet or pitching team harmony. Batting team to Sonnet or pitching team harmony. So again, no one has taken full advantage of who's harmonious or who's decided or not. So therefore, it will be a single, and the Blue Jays are going to come from behind to take the lead. Unbelievable. Down 3-1. Borders got on with a men on base. Turner Ward laced a triple. White delivered an RBI single. Oh man, unbelievable. This game, the Blue Jays come from behind to lead it 4-3 here in the 6th inning against the Philadelphia Phillies with Paul Molitor up at the dish off the men on base chart, and the Phillies manager is sticking with them. Scrapper hits a single. No. Unbelievable. When is the Phillies manager going to take his guy out of the game? Unreal. And, that's not the manager that we see. It's the pitching coach on his way out to the mound as the Blue Jays pile it on. It is 6-3 in favor of the Toronto Blue Jays here in Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Unbelievable. Oh my word. Unbelievable. But we do see the bullpens going to work for the Phils as Curt Schilling is trying to make sure to get his team back in the dugout. And right now, he is really having a really tough time doing so. So with that being said, they're going to stick with Schilling to see what he gets for Joe Carter's at bat off the men on base chart. 55. Unbelievable. Batting team to Sonnet or pitching team harmony. Well, again, no one has taken full advantage of who's dissonant or who's harmonious or not. It will be a single. Another run comes across the score. When is enough going to be enough, Phillies manager? When is enough going to be enough? And it seems, hey, finally he pops out of that dugout. The Phillies fans here are cheering. Get Schilling out! Get Schilling out! The Toronto Blue Jays fans are looking at the Phillies manager and saying, "You're keeping him in, right? You're keeping him in, right?" But no, he waves to the bullpen. We're as the Phils are going to the pen as Curt Schilling cannot escape this half inning here in the sixth. We'll find out who the new bullpen arm is after we take this really quick timeout. And it seems the Phillies manager have seen enough of Curt Schilling as he blown this game wide open, blew the lead as he blew this game wide open 7-3. As we do see a new bullpen arm out on the mound, Roger Mason will be on the hill for the Philadelphia Phillies as he has a workman, semi-flash, and semi-control for this at-bat against Joe Carter. Again, if we get a men on base result off the main chart, the runner on first is going to be added on to the total for the Toronto Blue Jays. It will reset for a new men on base result. With that being said, we head back to the main chart for Joe Carter's at bat with the Blue Jays in front over the Phillies 7-3. 2-4-6. Star on Mason. No. Champ on Carter. He's not a champ. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Joe Carter does have semi-home run king. However, the decider die says he does not. So therefore, it's going to be an out, and we'll say it'll be a flyout to end this massacre. And I mean massacre of a sixth inning as the Blue Jays down 3-1 entering the inning have stormed to rally for, get this, folks, 6 runs here in the sixth inning to take a 7-3 lead over the Philadelphia Phillies as we head to the seventh inning here at the Sky Dome in Toronto with your score as 7-3 in favor of the Toronto Blue Jays. 1-3-4. Ace on Eichhorn. No. Champ on Mariano Duncan. Excuse me. He is not. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 3-dot for Flash and a 3-dot for Control. We go to the stretch here at the Sky Dome with your score: Blue Jays 7, Phillies 3. Two, 2-3. Excuse me. 2-2-3. Ace on Mason. No. Excuse me. Utility on Olrud. No. That is going to be an RBI question mark check. And folks, can you say 8-3? Because I sure can. Blue Jays take the lead. Blue Jays are going to extend their lead by, my goodness, 8, 7, 6, 5 runs. It is now an RBI result on John Olrud, thanks to the decider die showing dots at the end of 7. It's Blue Jays 8, Phillies 3. Three, 4-4. Workman on Eichhorn. He's not a workman. Satsack on John Kruk. Wish he was, but he's not. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result, -1 for the black die if Control. Eichhorn has semi-control. The decider die says yes. Go big or go home for the Phils. They're going to place the runner on at third base for Dave Hollins. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 22. Batting at home. No, the Philadelphia Phillies are the visitors for game 1. So therefore, it'll be a flyout to end the top half of the eighth. The Phillies threaten but do not score. The Blue Jays are taking their final at bats here for their possible final at bats for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind as they lead it over the Philadelphia Phillies 8-3. 1-2-6. Struggler or gilded on Mason? No. Hero on Tony Fernandez? He is a semi-hero. The decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, that is going to end up being 1-2-6. Yep. A men on base result with a base running adjustment. Tony Fernandez is a active runner. The decider die says yes, he is. So from 1 to a 2, Fernandez is out on its second base for Ed Sprague. 25 off the men on base chart. Iron fielder commits the error. Darren Dalton is a neutral fielder, so therefore it will be a ground out to end the top half to end the first 8 innings here at the Sky Dome in Toronto. Last call for the Phillies as the Blue Jays lead it 8-3 over the Philadelphia Phillies here in game one of this episode of World Series Rewind. Four, 5, 6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Eichhorn is the bullpen arm, so he is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. 4, 5, 6. Champ on Jim Eisenreich. He's not. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. Jim Eisenreich is not a home run king or slugger. And folks, the game is over. The final score here for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind. Oh man. Do I have any words to say about this? Toronto wins it by the score of 8-3 over the Philadelphia Phillies. Down 3-0, crawl for one in the inning after the Phils gave up after the Phils scored 3. Then the floodgates just busted wide open on the Philadelphia Phillies as the Blue Jays tacked on 6 runs in the 6th inning to lead it 7-3. They add on one more for an 8-3 victory for airing game one of this episode of World Series Rewind as we head to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Stay tuned for that. But first, let's take a look at a monumentous game summary for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind featuring the Blue Jays and the Phillies as the Jays take game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind by the final score of 8-3. And we are just ready to go. We're just getting set and ready to go for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind for this very special Canada Day episode of World Series Rewind, to be exact, as we relive the 1993 Fall Classic between Canada and the United States as the Toronto Blue Jays representing the country of Canada and the Philadelphia Phillies representing Team USA. With that being said, we're from let's see here. We are from Philadelphia's Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia here for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind for this very special Canada Day episode of World Series Rewind to be exact. Your starting pitching matchups for this game will be Tommy Green for Philadelphia and Dave Stewart for the Blue Jays. With that being said, this game is being played with History Maker Baseball Express, getting set and ready to go. As Borders is ready to go, and so is Green. Let's play ball here from Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We'll get game 2 underway with a 2-5-6. Let's see here. Here we are. Workman on Green. He's not. Satsack on Borders. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Green has flash from 6 to a 5, placing runners on second and third for Turner Ward. We got a 44. Wild pitcher. No, Green is not wild. So therefore, it will be a flyout to end the top half of the first. The Jays threaten but do not score in their half of the first. And it's on to the Phillies now, as it's Blue Jays nothing, and the Phillies are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. We got triple one. So this is going to be an experience check. So let's see what we got here. I'll roll the white die for this. 1 dot for no runs narrative purposes. 5. Do we have an icon pitcher or prospect batter? It seems we have an icon batter, but we have an icon pitcher as well. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result of a runner on first. And that will take us to the men on base chart from Mickey Morandini for his hacks off the men on base chart with a 13. Fresh relief pitcher gets the pop out. Well, again, Dave Stewart is fresh since we're in the full freshness innings. So he will get the pop out to end the first inning here at Veterans Stadium. The score is Blue Jays nothing and the Phillies nothing. One, 2, 6. 1, 2, 6. 1, 2. Here we are. Struggler or Gilded on Green. He's not. Hero batter on Devon White. Not. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Black die is not a 6, so therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 1 blank, and that will do it for the top half of the second here at Veterans Stadium with your score at a big fat goose egg between the Blue Jays and the Phillies. One, 2, 3. Workman or Struggler on Stewart. He's a semi-workman. The decider die says he's not. Champ on Dykstra. He's not a champ. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 2 dot. And that will seal up the deal for the first 2 innings here at Veterans Stadium with your score, Toronto Blue Jays nothing and the Philadelphia Phillies nothing. Roberto Alomar will kick things off here in the third inning with a 2-3-4. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Tommy Green is still fresh. We're still in the freshest inning. So, again, Green is still fresh. Satsack on Roberto Alomar. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Green has semi-control. The decider die was not used. Yes, it was not used. So therefore, Green does not have control. So therefore, it'll place the runners at first and third, runners at the corners for Joe Carter to bat off the men on base chart. 16. Good eye? No, Joe Carter does not have a good eye. So therefore, that is going to be strike 3 called by the home plate umpire in this ball game, with your score remaining at a big fat goose egg we head to the bottom half of the third at a zip-to-zip tie between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies. 3-3-5. Struggler on Stewart. He's not. Champ on Mariano Duncan. He's not. Nope, he's not a champ. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result of a 3. And I remember, nope, the decider die was not used, so it will be a no runs result of a 3 blank, and that will seal up the deal for the first 3 innings here at Veterans Memorial Stadium here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with the score Toronto Blue Jays 0 and the Philadelphia Phillies 0. On our way to the top half of the fourth with a 3-3-6. Workman on Green. He's not. Statsack on John Olerud. Get out of here. When is John Olerud ever a Statsack? So therefore, it'll be an RBI question mark check. And folks, the Blue Jays are going to get on the board first, thanks to an RBI by John Olerud. And that will be the end of the fourth, top half of the fourth. Here for this half inning for Toronto. It's Toronto 1 and the Philadelphia Phillies 0. 2-3-3. Excuse me, 2-2-3. Ace on Stewart. No. Utility on John Kruk. No. RBI question mark check. This time, no. The Jays are going to hang on to their lead. It'll be a no runs result of a 3 to seal up the deal here for this first 4 innings of this one. The Toronto Blue Jays lead it over the Philadelphia Phillies here in Game 2 by the score of 1-0. 1-2-3. Workman or Struggler on Green. He's not. Champ on Fernandez. He's not a champ. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 1 and that will seal the deal here for the top half of the fifth. Your score remains at a 1-0 lead for the Toronto Blue Jays. 1-1-3. Struggler on Stewart. No. Utility on Hollins. No. That is going to be an RBI check. And this time, the Phillies are going to get the RBI to tie up the game at 1-1, thanks to Dave Hollins. As this game goes to the 6th, all knotted up at 1 apiece. 1-4-4. Struggler on Green. No. Sadsack on Sprague. No. That is going to end up being a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Tommy Green has semi-control. The decider die was not used. So therefore, he does not have control. So therefore, runners at the corners for Pat Borders off the men on base chart. 46. Same reliever gets the strikeout. And again, when we say same, it's righty versus righty, lefty versus lefty. Since we have a righty versus righty matchup, Tommy Green will get the strikeout needed to keep this a 1-1 tie going to the bottom of the 6th. The Blue Jays threaten but do not score. It's still knotted up at 1 apiece between the Jays and the Phils. We got a 3-3-6. Yes, 3-3-6. Workman on Stewart. He's a semi-workman. The decider die says he is. That'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Darren Dalton is a semi-stoic runner. The decider die says, oh, he's not. They're going to go big or go home here, folks. The Phils are going to put runners on at third base for Jim Eisenreich off of the men on base chart. With a 56, patient draws the walk. Eisenreich is not a patient batter, so therefore it will be a contact result. A 1. Okay, so first we're going to look for a flash versus whiffer versus flash pitcher. Eisenreich is not a whiffer. Dave Stewart is a semi-flash pitcher, which in this case he doesn't. So therefore, the Phillies are going to take the 2-1 lead over the Toronto Blue Jays, and that will end things here for the first 6 innings here at Veterans Memorial Stadium with your score: Phillies 2, Blue Jays 1. We got triple four. So this is going to be an umpire check. So Blue, we ask you, what's the call? We got a 6, questionable home plate umpire. And and again, I play this as a rotisserie umpire. So every umpire has the rotisserie ump has the quality. So whichever umpire is being asked, home plate first, second, or third. Dot, he has the quality. Blank, he doesn't. Is home plate umpire questionable? He's not. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of the main die roll result that we will use of the for this roll for Turner Ward. So therefore, that is going to seal up the deal for the first 7 innings of this ball game. For the Jays, the score as we head to the stretch is Philadelphia Phillies 2 and the Toronto Blue Jays 1. 136. Ace on Stewart. No. Hero on Thompson. No. That'll be a no run. Yes, no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Milt Thompson does not have home run king or slugger, so therefore it'll be a no runs result of a 6 blank. And that is going to seal up the deal for the first 7 innings here at Veterans Memorial Stadium with your score: Phillies 2, Blue Jays 1. And we are on our way to the top half of the 8th with the Phillies in front 2-1 over the Toronto Blue Jays, as we have Larry Anderson on the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies. He has star, flash, and semi-control credited to his name, but for this at-bat against Devon White, he will have the full extent use of the semi-ace quality. With that being said, the Jays are trying to look for ways to come back in this one. Down by a run, it's Phillies 2, Blue Jays 1, as we resume play here in the top half of the 8th inning. Two-two-six. Ace on Anderson. Well, again, we gave Anderson the semi-ace quality. In this case, he does not have it. Utility on White. He doesn't have it. So therefore, it'll be an RBI question mark check. And the decider die was used to check if Anderson had ace or not. Did the Jays tie the game? They did not. The Phillies hang on to keep the Jays at bay. And that'll be the end of the top half of the 8th. We go to the bottom half with a no runs result of a 6 dot, and that is going to do it as we head to the bottom half of the 8th. Your score is Phillies 2, Blue Jays 1. Bullpen is going just in case if Dave Stewart falters here in this inning. 3-4-5. Star on Stewart. He's not. Satsack on Morandini. No. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die. If flash or control, Dave Stewart has semi-flash, and the decider die says he does. So from 3 to a 2, that'll put the runner on at second base for Lenny Dykstra. He will take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 16. Good eye. Unfortunately, Lenny Dykstra does not have a good eye, so therefore, strike 3 call, says the home plate umpire. as we head to the top half of the ninth. Last call for the Toronto Blue Jays. Your score is Phillies 2, Blue Jays 1. Roberto Alomar will kick things off with a 3.56. Workman on Anderson. He's not. Champ on Alomar. He's not a champ. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. The black die is not a 6. That is going to be the ball game, folks. The final score here for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. The Phillies take it by the score of 2-1 over the Toronto Blue Jays, as we have a winner-take-all Game 7-like feel for Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind back at the Sky Dome in Toronto. And once again, it'll be a no-runs result of a 5 blank. Let me just double check. 3.56. Workman. 3.6. Workman, no. Champ, no. Yep, it'll be a no-runs result of a 5 blank. And that'll seal up the deal for this Game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind with the score Phillies 2 and the Toronto Blue Jays 1. Winner take all in this episode of World Series Rewind, as we are featuring Game 3 of this World Series Rewind matchup between the 1993 Philadelphia Phillies and the 1993 Toronto Blue Jays. For this very special edition of this very special Canada Day edition of World Series Rewind. Your starting pitching matchup for game number 3 is going to be as follows. Pat Hentgen will be on the mound for the Blue Jays, as he will be opposed by Terry Mulholland off for the Philadelphia Phillies. With that being said, it's winner take all. Let's get this game underway to see if the Blue Jays will retain the crown and their back-to-back World Series titles, or will the Philadelphia Phillies make a little history and ruin Canada Day for our fine friends of the North in Toronto for Canada Day here for this very special edition of World Series Rewind? Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. There we go. We're underway. 1-2-5. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the freshest innings. 3 full fresh, 3 semi-fresh is the way I'm playing it throughout this History Maker Baseball Express Hour inaugural season. So therefore, we ask Duncan, is he a champ? He's not. That is going to be a no-runs result of a 5 dot for Flash and a blank for Control. The Phillies cross home no runs. Let's see what the Toronto Blue Jays have in store for their half of the first. It's Phillies nothing, and the Jays are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. 2-4-5. Struggler on Mulholland. He's not. Sad sack on Carter. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if Flash or Control. Mulholland has Control, so that 5 will be reduced to a 4. And according to the decider die, he does have Flash. So that 4 will be reduced to a 3, putting the runners safely on at first and second. The Blue Jays are not going to pull their trump card early. So with that being said, we head to the men on base chart for John Olerud with a 12. Slugger hits home run. John Olerud is a slugger. So therefore, this one is hit high, hit far, and it is gone. John Olerud hits a 3-run jack here in the first inning. And my goodness, folks, the Jays are going to take a 3-0 lead thanks to a John Olerud 3-run home run. That will remain on the men on base chart for Tony Fernandez with a 16. Good eye. Tony Fernandez has semi-good eye. In this case, the decider die says no. So therefore, it will be a strikeout, a good bounce back by Terry Mulholland after giving up the 3-run home run to allow the Blue Jays to lead it after 1 inning of play by the score of 3-0 over the Philadelphia Phillies. 566. Star on Pat Hentgen. He does not have star. Hero on John Kruk. He is a hero, so therefore that's going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Kruk is a neutral runner. The bases are loaded, full of Philadelphia Phillies for Dave Hollins. We have a 23. Eager grounds out. Hollins is not an eager batter. Nowhere to put him. It'll be a walk to bring home a run and an RBI for Dave Hollins. It's all of a sudden Blue Jays 3, Philadelphia Phillies 1, as we resume off the men on base chart for Darren Daulton. 12. Slugger hits home run. Oh my goodness. Darren Daulton has slugger, so therefore this ball is hit high, hit far, and you can tell Grandma to break out the rye bread because it is a grand slam for Darren Daulton. Unbelievable. And right away, the Blue Jays cough up the lead after hitting a 3-run jack in the first. Unbelievable. The Phillies come back to post a grand slam on the board. And folks, unbelievable. We resume off the men on base chart for Jim Eisenreich with another 12. Slugger hits home run. Unfortunately, Jim Eisenreich does not have slugger, so therefore it will be a single and nothing more. But the Philadelphia Phillies grab hold of the lead of a 5-3 lead over the Toronto Blue Jays after an inning and a half of this ball game. Three, 5, 6. Workman on Mulholland. No. 3, 5, 6. Here we are. Champ on Sprague. He's not. That is going to be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. Sprague is not a home run. Is not a home run king. Neither is he a slugger. So therefore, it will be a no runs result of a 6 dot, and that will seal up the deal for the first 2 innings here at the ballpark at the Sky Dome in Toronto. With your score, Phillies 5 and the Toronto Blue Jays 3. One, 2, 3. Workman or Struggler on Hentgen. He's not. Champ. 1, 2. Yes. Champ on Milt Thompson. He's not. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result of a 1 blank. And folks, I hate to break the news to you, but the bullpens aren't getting a workout here, and they're getting loose as we speak, as the managers are really struggling, or excuse me, really scurrying and struggling around to see what is the possible good outcome for either of these teams to win. And of course, it is all hands on deck in this winner-take-all game as the Philadelphia Phillies take charge of the Toronto Blue Jays 5-3 as we head to the bottom half of the 3rd inning. Two, 2, 4. Ace on Mulholland. He's not. Utility on Borders. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Mulholland does have control from 2 to a 1. Borders will be placed on at first for Turner Ward. Take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 34. Slugger on Ward. He's a semi-slugger. The decider die says yes, he is. That is going to be a double. It'll be runners on second and third for Devon White off the men on base chart. Oh boy, folks. Hang on to your hats. 46. Same reliever gets the strikeout. Batting left. Excuse me. Let's see here. We have a switch hitter against the lefty. So whenever this happens with switch hitters, usually against left-handers, they usually bat right-handed. So no, it will be a contact result of a 2. Sack on White. He does not have it. The Jays creep a little bit closer. It's all of a sudden 5-4 at the hands of the Philadelphia Phillies. Oh boy, folks. What are the next 3 innings of this game gonna, what are these next 6 innings gonna bring for this ball game? Unbelievable. We are feeling that winner take all vibe here at the Sky Dome. It's Philadelphia Phillies 5 and the Toronto Blue Jays 4 after 3 innings of play. $166. Ace on Henkin. No. Stat sack on Mickey Morandini. No. That is going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Oh, not good, not good, not good if you're a Blue Jays fan, but good if you're a Phillies fan. The bases are loaded, full of Philadelphia Phillies for the designated hitter, Ricky Jordan, in this ball game for the Phils. Oh boy, we're going to take his hacks off the men on base chart. 14, scrapper hit single. Oh, Ricky Jordan is not a scrapper, so therefore it will be a double, and a bases clearing double to be exact. Oh my word, the Philadelphia Phillies are going to take a 8-4 lead here in Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. And folks, out comes the manager for the Toronto Blue Jays. He is not messing around. He's going to that pen. We'll find out who that is after we take this really quick timeout. It seems the Blue Jays manager is not messing around as he is bringing in his closer, Dwayne Ward, to pitch here in the top half of the 4th inning. Not a safe situation, though, as the Phillies are up by 4 runs, 8-4. With that being said, we continue on to bat here on the main chart. And again, when we get a men on base result, the runner on second is going to score. And with that being said, let's head to the main chart right now with the Phillies in front of the Blue Jays 8-4 here in Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 2-5. Ace on Ward. Yes, he is. Nice use of the fire extinguisher to douse the flames a little bit. But the Phillies take hold of an 8-4 lead thanks to a huge ground out by the Blue Jays here. We head to the bottom half of the 4th. The Phillies lead it over the Blue Jays by a score of 8-4. $144 on Mulholland. Struggler on Mulholland. No. Sad sack on Roberto Alomar. No. That is going to be a men on base result. They need base runners. -1 for the black die if control. Terry Mulholland does have control. They're going to place the runners on at first and second because that 4 will be reduced to a 3 for Paul Molitor off the men on base chart. 13. Fresh relief pitcher gets the pop out. We're in the semi-freshest innings for Mulholland, so therefore the decider die says yes. That is going to be a pop out to end the inning here at the ballpark, at the Sky Dome in Toronto, with your score: Phillies 8, Blue Jays 4. 1-3-4. Ace on Ward. He is an ace. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 1 dot, and that'll seal up the deal for the top half of the fifth. And that'll be it for the Philadelphia Phillies here in the top half of the inning. We go to the bottom half of the inning, and we do see a new bullpen arm trotting in for the bullpen for the Philadelphia Phillies as they want to try to keep this game close. Let's see who they bring in. And while the new pitcher takes up his warm-up tosses, we will take this really quick timeout. Wild thing, Mitch Williams is coming into this ball game. They are going to go closer for closer for the rest of this ball game, as Mitch Williams has semi-star, full flash, and semi-wild for this at bat against Joe Carter. Get this, folks. Mitch Williams will have the full extent use of the star quality. With that being said, it's Phillies 8, Blue Jays 4 as we resume play here in the bottom half of the fifth inning. 2-3-4. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Mitch Williams is the bullpen arm, so therefore he is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. Satsack on Carter. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Mitch Williams does not have control, so therefore it'll place the runners on at second base for John Olerud. We have a 14. Oh boy, scrapper hits single. John Olerud is not a scrapper. That is going to be a double. 8-5 now in favor of the Phils. We head to Tony Fernandez's turn off the men on base chart. 25. Iron fielder commits the error. John Kruk is not an iron fielder, so therefore that is going to be a ground out. Chipping away at the lead is the Blue Jays. The score is now Phillies 8, Blue Jays 5 after 5 innings of play. One, two, three. Workman or Struggler on Ward? No. Champ on Holland? No. That is going to be a no runs result of a 1 dot. That's why these teams are going closer for closer to keep this game in a minimal scoring range between the Phils and the Jays. It's still Phillies 8, Blue Jays 5 as we head to the bottom half of the 6th inning. 4, 5, 6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Mitch Williams is the bullpen arm for the Phils, so he is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. Champ on batted. I think it's Sprague. Yeah, it is Sprague. So, Champ on Sprague, no. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Sprague does not have home run king or slugger, so therefore, that is a no runs result of a 4 blank, and that'll seal up the deal for the first 6 innings here in this one. The score remains 8-5 in favor of the Philadelphia Phillies. 3, 5, 6. Workman on Ward? No. Champ on Dalton? No. That is going to be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. The black die is not a 6, so therefore that is going to be a no runs result of a 3 blank, and that will seal up the deal as we head to the stretch The Phillies take charge 8-5 over the Toronto Blue Jays. 266. Star on Williams. He's a semi-star. The decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, that'll be a no runs result of a 2 blank, and that will seal up the deal here for the first 7 innings of this ball game. Time is running out for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Philadelphia Phillies are looking to spoil Canada Day here for the Jays fans and take home the World Series crown and redemption from 1993. With that being said, we head to the 8th. With the score, Phillies 8, Blue Jays 5. 115. Struggler on Ward. He's not. Utility on Eisenreich. No. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Ward has double flash. So that 5 will be reduced to a 3. They're going to place the runners on at first and second for Milt Thompson. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 16. Good eye? No, Milt Thompson does not have a good eye. So therefore, that is going to be a strikeout to end the top half of the 8th. We go to the bottom half of the inning with the score, Phillies 8 and the Blue Jays 5. 224. Ace on Williams. No. Utility on Turner Ward. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Mitch Williams does not have control, so therefore, placing the runners at the corners for Devon White. Oh boy, both arms are getting tired here as they were brought in the early stages of the game. Oh boy. We go to the men on base chart with a 36. Active batter gets runners advance 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Oh my word. Devon White has semi-active and the decider die says yes, he does. 8-6 now. The runner on third scores. The runner on first goes to third. And Devon White is on at second with a stolen base. Thanks to a runners advance 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Oh boy, folks, hang on to those hats of yours. Oh boy. 14. Scrapper hits single. Alomar is not a scrapper. That is going to be a bases clearing double. The game is tied. Oh my goodness. The Toronto Blue Jays have come back from the dead once again here in their own ballpark. Man, oh man, oh man. Tied at 8 in the bottom of the 8th. Unreal. Just listen to this crowd cheer for their Jays. Unreal. Paul Molitor is now up at the dish off the men on base chart. 33. Scrapper hits single. Molitor is not a scrapper. The Blue Jays take the lead down 8-5. They crawl back to lead it 9-8. Unbelievable. Oh my, oh my, oh my. We continue off the men on base chart for Joe Carter. 34. Slugger hits double. Unfortunately, Joe Carter is not a slugger, so therefore, that is going to be another run for the Jays. A 10-8 lead now. Oh my word. That is going to be a single and nothing more. Last call for the Philadelphia Phillies. As we head to the top half of the 9th, it's Blue Jays 10, Phillies 8 in a wild, and I mean wild, winner take all, Game 3. 116. Struggler on Dwayne Ward. He's not. Utility on Mickey Morandini. He's not. That is going to be an RBI question mark. And folks, the decider die says nah. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 1 dot. And that is the ball game. The Blue Jays retain their back-to-back World Series crowns. Man, oh man, down 8-5 to try to crawl back from the dead as they now win this episode of World Series Rewind over the Philadelphia Phillies. 10-8, the final score here in Game 3 as the Blue Jays take the series 2-1. Stay tuned for the game summary presented by your favorite Bitty Bear products for Game 3 of this wild, and I mean wild and crazy Game 3 that we have played for the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. Man, oh man, and again, all game summaries are presented by your favorite Bitty Bear products. And again, we remind you, if you choose to drink Bitty Beer, please remember to drink responsibly. As always, it has big taste at a bitty price. It's Bitty Beer. Once again, the final score, Blue Jays come back from the dead to win this episode of World Series Rewind by the final score of 10-8. We hope that you enjoyed today's very special Canada Day edition of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour as we rewound the clock back to 1993, featuring the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies in the 1993 Fall Classic. Well, it seems we ran out of time for today, but never fear. Let's see what's coming up next time here on the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. And man, oh man, are we going to have a featured memorable game for you as we're going to rewind the clock back to Canada Day of 2016 when the Cleveland Indians took on the Toronto Blue Jays in that very epic 18-inning marathon, as your probable starters were Josh Tomlin for the Indians and Marcus Stroman for the Blue Jays. Will we pitch 18 innings here on the latest edition of MLB Memorable Games? Well, I guess you're going to have to tune in to find out next time here on the History Maker Baseball Express Hour when we go back to full play History Maker Baseball. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour that was being played with History Maker Baseball Express. We look forward to bringing you more matchups of Rivalry Night, World Series Rewind, Cross-Era Showdown, and a blast from the past as we revisit some classic and memorable games from Major League Baseball throughout the 2026 Major League Baseball regular season.